My daughter was in my arms, her small face pressed against my shoulder, eyes closed, warm, completely unaware. Outside my window, 4 black cars. Men in dark coats standing at my gate like they had always planned to be there. Still, patient. The kind of patient that comes from being paid very well to wait. I had spent 5 years building a life in Lagos that had nothing to do with Seoul. 5 years of silence. 5 years of clean hands and ordinary mornings and a child who had never heard the word shin spoken out loud. I pressed my lips to Adeola's hair, and I told her quietly that everything was fine. I lied, because one of those men at my gate had just looked directly at my window, and I recognized him. I thought I left this life behind, I whispered to no one. But the Korean mafia just found my child. I did not go to Seoul looking for danger. I went because I was 25 years old. I had a degree in financial analysis, and I had received an offer from a company called Shin Capital Partners that paid 3 times what anyone in Lagos was offering a junior analyst with 2 years of experience. The office was clean. The package was generous. The contract was 32 pages long and entirely legitimate on its surface. I signed it. That is how ordinary the beginning was. Seoul arrived like a system shock. The city moved differently, faster in some places, deliberately slower in others, always with a precision that felt architectural. I arrived in October, when the ginkgo trees along the streets had gone gold, and I remember thinking, this is the most beautiful place I have ever been. That feeling would complicate itself in the weeks ahead. Shin Capital Partners occupied the top 4 floors of a glass building in Gangnam. My role was simple. Review financial statements, flag discrepancies, prepare reports. I was junior, foreign, and quiet. Nobody looked at me twice. That was exactly how I wanted it. For 6 weeks, nothing was unusual. My colleagues were polite and distant in the way of people who have been trained to keep professional boundaries at a cellular level. I ate my lunch alone. I worked late. I learned the rhythms of the office. And then I found the discrepancy. It was not obvious. It was the kind of thing designed to be invisible. 3 ledger entries across 4 separate accounts, routed through a subsidiary I had not been assigned to review. I found it by accident, cross-referencing a report I had not been asked to cross-reference, on a Thursday evening when the office was almost empty. The numbers did not match, and the gap between them was not small. I flagged it in my notes. I planned to ask my supervisor in the morning. I did not get the chance. He came to my desk at 7:45 that evening. I had seen him before, in the way you see powerful people in large offices, from a distance, briefly, without looking directly. Shin Minjay, second son of the Shin family, 33 years old, the kind of man who walked into rooms and did not announce himself because the room already knew. He pulled a chair to the edge of my desk and sat down without asking. I looked up from my screen. "The discrepancy you found," he said. His English was precise, unhurried, with the particular flatness of someone who has spoken it long enough to drain it of accent. "Walk me through it." I stared at him. "How do you know I found a discrepancy?" "Because you've been staring at those 4 accounts for 2 hours, he said, "and you haven't moved." I thought, he's been watching me work. I thought, why has he been watching me work? I thought this is not a normal conversation. But I had already flagged the discrepancy in my notes, and the notes were on my screen. And the man sitting across from me had the title of Executive Director on a plaque I had seen on a door I had never entered. So I explained it, carefully, with the spreadsheet open between us. He listened without interrupting, completely still. When I finished, he looked at the numbers for a long moment. Then he said, "You are either very good at your job or very unlucky." "Which is worse?" I asked. He looked at me. Not the spreadsheet. Me. "Depends entirely on what you do next," he said. He closed my laptop. He stood up. He said, "Go home. Come back tomorrow. Say nothing to anyone tonight." A pause. "And Miss Folasade, the discrepancy doesn't exist until I tell you it does." He left before I could respond. I sat at my empty desk for a long time after that. I should have started looking for another job that night. I didn't. What happened over the following weeks was not a seduction. It was something slower and more insidious. The gradual erosion of appropriate distance between two people who are spending too much time in proximity to one another. Minjay called me into his office every few days. The discrepancy became a project. The project became a reason to speak privately. The conversations began about numbers and became, very quietly, about other things. He asked where I was from. I told him Lagos. He asked what brought me to Seoul. I told him ambition. He almost smiled at that. The same almost smile I would spend months cataloging. What kind of ambition? He asked. The kind that doesn't wait for permission, I said. He looked at me the way he looked at the spreadsheets, thoroughly, without blinking, and said nothing. Outside those rooms, I was beginning to understand what Shin Capital Partners actually was. Not fully. Not in a way I could prove or name. But in the way you understand something when the edges of it keep appearing. A conversation that stops when you walk in. A name that makes people stand straighter. A car that parks outside at hours that don't correspond to any business meeting. I told myself I didn't see it. That was my first choice. And choices, in the world of the Shin family, have consequences. The family dinner was a mistake I did not choose. Minjay brought me. He called it a formality. I was to explain the restructured accounts to his father, who insisted on meeting the analyst responsible. It sounded professional. It should have been professional. It was not. His mother noticed me the way predators notice things that don't belong. She waited until the tea was served, until the room was full and quiet and comfortable. Then she looked at me across the table, this small, elegant woman with the posture of a blade, and she said it, loud enough for everyone, in Korean, which she did not know I spoke fluently. She said I was empty, that women like me carried nothing, that her son's time was wasted here. The room went quiet. I translated every word in my head. I looked at Minjay. He was looking at the table. I smiled. I finished my tea. I thanked his mother for her hospitality in Korean, watching her face shift with the realization that I had understood everything. And I went home. That night, alone in my apartment, I allowed myself exactly 1 hour to feel the weight of what had been said. Then I put it away. I was very good at putting things away. I told myself his silence at that table meant nothing, that he was a man managing a complicated situation, and his silence was strategy, not weakness. I would spend 5 years learning the difference, and by then, it would already be too late. The truth about the Shin family arrived the way all truths arrive when you've been choosing not to look, suddenly, completely, in a form that cannot be unseen. It was a night in November, late. I had stayed at the office to finish a quarterly reconciliation that Minjay had requested by morning. The building was quiet. Security was minimal. I took the wrong elevator, the one that goes to the basement level, marked private, that I had been told was for storage. The doors opened. I saw what I should not have seen. I will not describe it. I have spent 5 years trying not to describe it, even to myself. What I will say is this. There was a man. There were other men. And there was Minjay, standing very still at the center of all of it, in the particular posture of a man who was not shocked because he expected this outcome. He turned. He saw me. I pressed the button. The doors closed. I took the elevator back up. I collected my bag. I walked to the front entrance at a pace that was not running, but was everything running means. I got a taxi. I went home. I did not sleep. I sat on the edge of my bed, and I processed what my eyes had reported, and my mind had immediately begun trying to reclassify. The body, the stillness, the way no one in that room had moved with the urgency of people managing an emergency, the way they had moved with the quiet efficiency of people managing a routine. This is what is underneath the spreadsheets. This is what those numbers have always been for. I had known, in the soft peripheral way of someone who is choosing not to look directly at a thing, but now I had looked, and the thing had a shape. I should have left that night. Packed a bag, booked a flight, disappeared before the sun came up. I did not, because at 2 a.m., there was a knock at my door. He stood in my doorway with the expression of a man who has rehearsed nothing and is now standing in the gap between what he planned and what is actually happening. "I came to explain," he said. "I don't want an explanation," I said. "I want you to go." He didn't go. "I need you to understand," he said, "that what you saw, I know what I saw, Minjay." He stopped. We stood in the doorway, me with my hand on the frame, him in the hall, and the silence between us carried everything that had been building for weeks. The late evenings, the conversations that went too long, the way he looked at me when he thought I wasn't looking back. "How much of it did you know?" I asked. "From the beginning. How much did you know about what you were bringing me into?" A long pause. "Enough," he said. "Too much. And also, not enough to stop." It was the most honest thing he had ever said to me. That was what undid me. Not charm, not beauty, not the weeks of proximity. The honesty of a man who had lived his entire life in a world that ran on lies and was choosing, right now, this once, not to use one. I stepped back from the door. He came inside. What happened that night was not innocent. Neither of us pretended it was. We were two people who had been standing at the edge of something for too long, and the edge had finally given way. He was careful. He was quiet. He was nothing like the man in the basement, and everything like the man who had listened to me explain a financial discrepancy for an hour, because he wanted a reason to keep me talking. Before he left, just before the sky lightened, he sat at the edge of my bed and he said, "I would make different choices. If I had started differently, I would have made different choices." I looked at him in the gray early light. "But you didn't," I said. "No," he said. "I didn't." He left. I told myself it was finished, that this was the ending point, the one clean line I could draw between before and after. I would finish my contract, file the paperwork, and leave Seoul without looking back. 3 weeks later, everything changed. I missed my cycle on a Thursday. I dismissed it. Stress, travel, the body adjusting. I was not a woman who panicked. I bought a test on a Friday evening from a pharmacy 2 neighborhoods away from my apartment, because I was thorough in the same way I was thorough with spreadsheets. I needed the data before I could conclude anything. I looked at the result for a long time. I thought about what his mother had called me. I thought about the woman who had been told at 19, after a difficult illness, that carrying a child would likely never be possible for her. The doctor's face, the clinical words. Unlikely. Structurally complicated. You should prepare yourself. I had prepared myself. I had built a life that did not account for this. And now I was holding a test that made a liar out of every verdict I had ever been given. I sat on the bathroom floor of my Seoul apartment with the truth in my hands, and I understood, with complete clarity, that I had 2 choices. Tell Minjay, and deliver my child into the arms of the Shin syndicate, or disappear, and carry this alone, forever. I had 1 week to decide. I decided in 3 days. The ticket cost more than 2 weeks of my salary. I bought it anyway. One-way Lagos, departing in 4 days. I requested emergency leave from Shin Capital Partners citing a family illness, which was the most efficient lie available. I packed what I could carry. I left what I couldn't. I did not say goodbye. I did not leave a note. I boarded the plane on a Wednesday morning before the city was fully awake, in the gray early hours that belong to people who are running from something. I did not look out the window as Seoul fell away beneath me. I was 25 years old, newly pregnant, and the only thing I was certain of was this. My child would not be born into a world where the basement of a building could hold what I had seen. Lagos received me the way it always received me. Loudly, warmly, without apology. My mother asked no questions when I arrived with 2 suitcases and no explanation. She was a woman who had raised me to be precise and careful, and she understood, from the particular quality of my silence, that precision and care had failed me somewhere, and that questions would not help. She made me soup. She put me in my old bedroom. She asked only one thing. "Are you safe?" "Yes," I said. She nodded. She left me alone. That was the whole of it. The pregnancy was confirmed by a doctor in Victoria Island who spoke to me in a clean, factual voice that I appreciated. He asked about the father. I said he was not in the picture. He gave me a due date, a list of vitamins, and a pamphlet. I sat in my car outside his clinic for 20 minutes. Then I drove home and began building the life I would need. It was not easy. I will not pretend it was. The first months were physically difficult, financially tighter than I was used to, and psychologically. I have no clean word for what the nights were in those first months. I had chosen this. I held on to that. I had made the choice. It was mine. The hardest nights were the ones where I thought not about the danger. I had made my peace with the danger, but about him, about the man in my doorway at 2 a.m. who had been honest with me in a way that cost him something, about the rare, almost smile, about the way he said my name, always, like he had decided it mattered. I missed him. I was also terrified of him. Both things lived in the same place inside me, and I refused to resolve them. What I would not do, what I told myself every single night, was contact him. Not because I hated him.
Before you continue, if this story touched something in you, you should know this is only the beginning. The complete version includes 30 full audio stories, more than 30 hours of uninterrupted listening. No ads, no cuts, no distractions. Scan the QR code on your screen, or tap the link in the pinned comment to continue listening right now.
Because I loved my child more than I loved the version of Minjay that existed in my memory, and those two things could not coexist. She was born in July. The labor was long and the room was small, and my mother held my hand for 12 hours, without once telling me that everything would be fine, because she knew me well enough to know I didn't need comfort. I needed company. When they placed her in my arms, she opened her eyes. Dark, watchful, still. His eyes. I had known it was possible. I had not fully prepared for the physical reality of holding his eyes in my daughter's face and loving them absolutely. I named her Adaola, my family's crown. My mother cried. I did not then. I was too busy counting her fingers and telling her, in a voice too quiet for the nurses to hear, that she was the evidence, that she was the proof that everything they had said about me was wrong. She looked at me like she already knew. I built a life around her the way you build anything important. One decision at a time, each one load-bearing. I found work at a financial consulting firm in Lagos. Small, reputable, nothing that touched anything dangerous. I rented an apartment in a quiet neighborhood, a gate, a garden, a street with children and vendors and the ordinary sounds of ordinary living. I hired a woman named Mrs. Bello to watch Adaola during work hours. I deleted my sole contacts. I closed the accounts associated with Shin Capital. I was systematic. 5 years passed. Not easily. Not without cost. But solidly. The way things pass when you have given them no choice. Adaola learned to walk, then run, then talk in the particular non-stop way of children who have things to say, and trust that someone is listening. She was perceptive in a way that was sometimes startling. The kind of child who watched a situation for exactly the right amount of time before drawing a conclusion that turned out to be correct. She had my stubbornness, she had his stillness. I answered every question she asked about her father the same way. He was someone I knew a long time ago. He doesn't know about you, and you are loved. Completely. You are enough. She seemed to accept this. Children accept the architecture of their world until they're old enough to ask who built it. I had time, I thought. A few more years of ordinary mornings and crayons and Mrs. Bello's cooking and my daughter's voice asking questions about birds. And then, on a Tuesday in March, 5 years to the month since I had first landed in Seoul, a black car with no plates parked slowly in front of my gate. I was in my kitchen. I saw him before he stepped fully out of the vehicle. The height, the posture. The particular stillness that had once made an entire room go quiet. Minjay, 5 years older, leaner, the same eyes. Standing in front of my gate, looking at my house with the expression of a man who has been searching for something for a very long time and has finally found it. My daughter was in the next room with her crayons. My hands went cold. I had one advantage. Just one. He didn't know what she looked like yet. And I had approximately 30 seconds before that changed. I had 30 seconds. That was all the time standing between the life I had built and the life I had run from. 30 seconds before Minjay crossed my gate. Before he looked through the right window at the right angle and saw the small figure sitting cross-legged on the floor of my living room with crayons spread around her like a crown. I moved the way my body remembered how to move when fear was real. Fast, quiet, deliberate. Adaola. My voice was calm. It had to be. Baby, come to mama. She looked up from her drawing, my daughter. 4 years old and already so perceptive it sometimes frightened me. She saw something in my face she recognized as serious, and she stood immediately, no argument, holding her yellow crayon in her small fist. I took her by the hand and walked her to the back bedroom. I gave her my phone with her cartoons, and I told her to stay. Even if you hear voices? She asked. I paused. She was 4. Especially if you hear voices, I said, and I kissed her forehead. Mama is handling something. I'll be right back. I was standing at my front door when the knock came. 3 knocks. Controlled. Not aggressive. The knock of a man who is used to being let in. I opened the door. Minjay. 5 years had changed the surface of him without touching the substance. He was leaner. The lines of his face had deepened. Not from age, from weight. The weight of whatever the Shin syndicate had asked of him in the years since I disappeared. He was dressed the way he always dressed, like a man who has decided simplicity is its own authority. Dark jacket. No jewelry. Eyes that saw everything and showed nothing. Except right now, those eyes showed something. Relief. Brief. Almost invisible. But I had spent months once learning the small vocabulary of his face, and I knew what relief looked like on him. Folisade. My name and his voice. I had forgotten how it sounded. How he was the only person who had ever pronounced it without the pause of uncertainty in the middle, like he had practiced it. Like it mattered to him that he got it right. I kept my hand on the door. How did you find me? He looked at me for a long moment. You know I would always find you. That's not an answer. No, he agreed. It isn't. He wasn't threatening. That was the part that was most dangerous. Minjay had never needed to perform threat. It simply existed around him the way gravity exists. You didn't see it. You just felt everything pulling. What do you want, Minjay? He looked past me into the house. Not searching, not aggressive, but the way a man looks at something he has been imagining for a long time, checking the reality of it against the image he has been carrying. To understand, he said. You disappeared. You sent nothing. 5 years, no word, no explanation. His voice was flat, but there was something underneath the flat. Something he was controlling. I need to understand why. I looked at him and I thought, because I saw a man executed in your basement and I knew what you were. I thought, because your mother called me barren in front of strangers and you said nothing. I thought, because I was 3 weeks pregnant and terrified, and the only thing I knew for certain was that your world would swallow my child alive. I said none of it. This is not a conversation I'm prepared to have on my doorstep, I said. Leave. When I'm ready to talk, I'll find you. Something shifted in his expression. He almost smiled, not with warmth, with recognition. The same recognition I felt. 5 years apart, and we were still speaking in the same rhythm. You won't find me, he said. You'll avoid it until avoidance becomes impossible. He wasn't wrong. Minjay, I'm not here to threaten you. His voice dropped slightly. Just for me. I'm not the organization right now. I'm just... He paused. For a man who chose his words like a man choosing weapons, a pause from Minjay meant something significant was being decided. I'm just someone who needed to see that you were alive." The words landed somewhere I hadn't defended. I didn't let it show. "I'm alive," I said. "Go." He looked at me for one more long moment. Then he nodded once, that single economical nod that had once made me furious with admiration. And he turned and walked back to his car. I closed the door. I pressed my back against it and I breathed. From the back bedroom came a small voice. "Mama, is everything okay?" "Yes, baby," I called. "Everything is okay." One of those sentences was true. He came back the next morning, and the morning after that. He did not knock the second time. He simply stood at my gate at a respectful distance, like a man who had read somewhere that patience was a language. I watched him from my kitchen window while Adaola ate her breakfast, and asked why the tall man kept standing outside. "He's looking for something," I told her. "Did he lose it?" I set down my cup. "Yes." "Should we help him?" she asked, the way 4-year-olds ask, without understanding that some questions contain entire catastrophes. "Not yet," I said. "Eat your eggs." On the third day, he spoke to my neighbor, Mrs. Ibarra, who has never in her 68 years met a stranger. I saw them talking through my window. I saw her gesture warmly. I saw Minjay listen to her with the particular attention he gave to things he was memorizing. My neighbor had no idea what she was talking to. I went outside. "Mrs. Ibarra," I said, with a smile I had to construct carefully. "I'll take it from here." She beamed at me and patted Minjay's arm as if he were a lost nephew who had finally found his way home. Then she went inside. Minjay looked at me, and I looked at him. And then from behind me came the sound of the front door opening, and small quick feet, and a voice. "Mama, I finished my juice." The silence that followed was one of the loudest things I have ever heard. Minjay went completely still. He was looking at Adaola, at her height, at her face, at the watchful dark eyes that were examining him with unself-conscious curiosity. She tilted her head the way he tilts his head. She had no idea she was doing it. He knew. I watched him know. The color did not leave his face. He had too much control for that. But something moved behind his eyes. Something seismic. Something that had no name in the language of a man who controlled everything and had just discovered there was something he had not known to control. His voice, when it came, was very quiet. "She has my eyes." It wasn't a question. He said 4 words, and my entire 5-year silence shattered. "She has my eyes." And for the first time since I opened that door, I was the one who had nothing to say. "Come inside," I said. I don't know why I said it. Every rational part of me said, send him away, gather Adaola, buy 2 plane tickets, disappear again. But there was another part, the part that had been carrying this secret for 5 years, that had built a wall around it and plastered it smooth and pretended it wasn't there, and that part was exhausted. The wall was coming down whether I helped it or not. Minjay followed me inside. Adaola, fearless as only children who have been truly loved can be, walked up to him in the middle of my living room and looked up at him with complete authority. "Are you very tall or is everyone else very short?" she asked. He looked at her for a moment. Then something happened to his face that I had never seen happen before. Something soft. "I think I'm very tall," he said. "Mama is medium," she said seriously. "I am small, but she says I'll catch up." "You will," he said. "I think you'll catch up very fast." She nodded, satisfied, the way she always was when adults confirmed her existing theories. And then she went back to her crayons. He stood in my living room and watched her for a moment longer than was comfortable. Then he turned to me. "How long were you going to keep this from me?" I sat down. I motioned for him to do the same. He did. Slowly, like a man who is sitting down in enemy territory and knows it. "Minjay," I said, "I need you to hear what I'm about to say without interrupting." He nodded. "I left because of what I saw. The basement. The body." I watched his jaw set. "I already knew what you were before that. I am not naive, but I had made a choice to not look directly at it. That night I could not make that choice anymore." I paused. And I left because of what your mother said at the family dinner. The words she used, the way you said nothing. Something moved in his face. And I left, I continued, because 3 weeks after I landed in Lagos, I discovered I was pregnant. And I knew that if I told you, you would want to bring her into a world I had just watched take a man's life. A world where your family had already decided I was less than nothing. I held his gaze. I chose my daughter over the truth, and I would make that choice again. The room was quiet. Adaola colored. Outside a car passed. You had no right, he said. His voice was controlled, but the control was costing him. She is my daughter. And she is my daughter, I said. And she has never been in danger. She has never been afraid. She has never had to understand what her father does at 2 a.m. I'm out. I stopped. He said it again, quietly. I left the Shin Syndicate 14 months ago. It cost me considerably. He paused. It cost me things I cannot recover. But I am out. I stared at him. You don't leave the Shin Syndicate. No one believed I would, he agreed. And yet, Minjay, I spent 2 years looking for you, he said. And now the control shifted. Not breaking, but thinning, just enough to see what was underneath. When you disappeared, I told myself it was your choice and I had no right to it. I tried to accept it. I could not. He looked at his hands briefly, the gesture of a man unused to admitting difficulty. I needed to know you were alive, that it was your choice and not mine that ended things, that I had not failed to protect you. My throat was tight. The Syndicate, I said. Are we safe? Right now? Are we safe? Yes. Immediate. No hesitation. My leaving was negotiated. You are not a liability to them. I made certain of that before I found you. You made certain before you found me, I repeated. I protected you before I knew about her, he said. That should tell you something. It did. I didn't want it to, but it did. From the floor, Adeola held up her drawing. Mama, look, I drew our house. She had drawn a house with 3 figures in front of it, 2 tall and 1 small. She had drawn 3 figures. We both looked at it. She's 4, I said, almost to myself. She's perceptive, Minjay said. And there was something in his voice, something reverent and terrified at once. The voice of a man looking at something far more powerful than anything he has ever controlled. His daughter. I want to know her, he said. Quiet, direct, no demand in it, just truth, which was harder. I know, I said. What are you afraid of? I looked at him across my living room, with the house we had built between us. The 5 years and the silence and the secrets, and the exhaustion of carrying something this heavy alone. I'm afraid, I said slowly, that you'll be exactly who you used to be, and I'm afraid that you won't. Both things are terrifying. He held my gaze. Then let me prove which one I am. He was out of the Syndicate. He had found me before he found her. He had protected us before he even knew to. And now my daughter was drawing 3 figures in front of our house, like she already knew something I wasn't ready to admit. Some truths, it turns out.
If you stayed until the end, it's because this story stayed with you. What you heard here is just a fragment. The full experience lives in 30 complete audio stories, carefully told with every emotion, every secret, and every moment that couldn't be shared on YouTube. There are no ads, no interruptions, and you can listen anytime, anywhere, in total privacy. Scan the QR code on your screen now, or tap the link in the pinned comment, and discover what was never said.
Do not wait for permission. Trust is not a door you open. It is a wall you take down, 1 brick at a time, slowly. And you watch the man on the other side very carefully while you do it. Minjay understood this, or he learned it. In the months that followed, he did not push. He came when invited. He waited when he was not. He let Adaola set the pace because I told him she had to, and he accepted this with the patience of a man who understood, finally, that there were things in this world more important than control. The first time she let him hold her drawing, she studied his face the entire time, assessing him, the way she assessed everything. "You look at things for a long time," she told him. "So do you," he said. She considered this. "Mama says that means we're thinking. Your mama is right." She looked at him a moment longer. Then she handed him the red crayon. "You can use this one. I have 2 reds." He held that crayon like it was classified information. I turned away so he wouldn't see me cry. He met my mother 3 months later. She sat across from him at my dining table and looked at him the way Nigerian mothers look at things they are deciding how to feel about. Thoroughly, unhurried, and with full authority. "You left her," she said. "She left," he said, "but I gave her reasons to." My mother looked at him for a long time. Then she looked at me. Then at Adaola, who was stealing groundnuts from the bowl on the table and pretending she wasn't. "You left the organization?" my mother asked. "Yes. People don't leave those organizations." "No," he said. "They usually don't." My mother nodded slowly, the way she nods when something has cleared a bar she had not announced. Then she passed him the jollof rice and said nothing more about it. That was her version of welcome. There was a morning, late in the Harmattan season, the air dry and golden and full of dust, when I walked out to my back courtyard and found Minjay sitting on the low wall with Adaola in his lap, and she was teaching him the names of her drawings. This one was a lion. This one was our street. This one was a bird she had invented and named herself. He asked questions about every single one. Careful questions, interested questions. The questions of a man who was memorizing. He looked up and saw me standing in the doorway, and he smiled. The real one, the rare one, the one I had spent months in Seoul trying to earn and only saw twice. He smiled the way a man smiles when his life has surprised him in a way he hadn't thought to want. I thought, I have been so angry for so long. I thought, anger kept us alive. It brought us here. But I don't want to be angry anymore. I thought, she draws 3 figures in front of every house now. She has been drawing 3 for weeks. "I would like to stay in Lagos," he said one evening, standing at my gate the way he used to stand at it before I let him in. Old habit. He still asked permission, even when it wasn't necessary. "Not in your house. Near it. Close enough. Minjay, I'm not asking you to take back 5 years, he said. I'm asking you for the next 5, and the 5 after that. If you decide at any point that you want to stop, I will accept it." I looked at him. I thought about the woman who had walked out of Seoul with a secret and a one-way ticket, and a decision to make herself into someone who didn't need saving. I had done that. I had done it well. And now a man was standing at my gate asking to be part of the life I had built without him. Not to own it, not to lead it, just to be in it. "You'll have to sleep in the guest room," I said. Something moved in his face. "For how long?" "Until Adaola says otherwise," I said. "She runs this house." He almost laughed. Genuinely. "She absolutely does." "Welcome to Lagos," I said, and I stepped aside. That night, after Adaola was asleep, we sat on the veranda with tea, not talking. The comfortable kind of quiet, the kind that takes a long time to build with someone. "Your mother called me empty," I said eventually, not with bitterness, just returning to the thing I had never finished saying. "She said it in front of everyone, and you said nothing." "I know," he said. "I need you to say something now," I said, "even if it's late." He set down his cup. He turned and looked at me the way he had always looked at things, fully, with his whole attention. "She was wrong," he said. "She was wrong, and I was a coward, and I have no explanation for that would be adequate. The most I can say is that the man who sat at that table and said nothing no longer exists." I held his gaze. "Adaola exists," I said. "That's the proof." "Yes," he said. "That is the proof." We sat in the quiet of Lagos at night, the distant sounds of the street, the warm air, the knowledge that inside our daughter was sleeping in safety she had always known. I had protected her. That was the truth I held on to on the worst nights. And I had done it alone. And somehow, on the other side of all of it, I was not alone anymore. Some things do not heal clean. They heal crooked, and you learn to live with the shape of the scar. But healed is healed. Adaola Shin. That was what she asked to be called, 6 months later, when she was almost 5, and had decided with absolute authority that she wanted both names. Her mother's family, and her father's name, and no one was going to tell her those things could not coexist. She was Adaola Shin. And she drew 4 figures in front of the house now, herself, me, Minjay, and a small dog we did not yet have but that she had decided was coming. She was probably right. She usually was. I thought leaving Seoul was the bravest thing I would ever do. I was wrong. The bravest thing was opening that gate. 3 weeks after Minjay moved his things into the guest room, a letter arrived. No sender address. Seoul postmark, written in Korean. Minjay read it at the kitchen table while I made tea. I watched the stillness come over him. That old stillness, the one I recognized from a world I thought we had left behind. He folded the letter. He placed it in his pocket. "What was that?" I asked. He looked at me for a moment. "Old business," he said. "Nothing that concerns us." He smiled. He drank his tea. But that night, when Adaola was asleep and the house was quiet, I found him standing at the window in the dark, looking at the street the way a man looks at a street when he is checking for things that shouldn't be there. Old business. I had learned, a long time ago, that with the Shin family, there is no such thing. She chose silence for 5 years. Some days I still ask myself if I was protecting her, or punishing him. Adaola draws 4 figures in front of our house now. She never asked why there were only 3 before. Maybe she already knows. Maybe children always know. He reads that letter every night when he thinks I'm asleep. He thinks I don't notice. I notice everything. If you were Folasade, would you have told him? And that letter. Do you think the Shin family is really done with them?